Now, you said the Supreme Court seems unlikely to take a case up like this, but let's just say the unlikely case emerges and the Supreme Court does sit with something like this. How would you expect them to rule, and could this Alabama ruling somehow enter federal territory?
Look, I don't doubt that there are justices on the Supreme Court who agree with the point being made here, which is that from the moment of conception, a life exists. Whether there are five such justices on the Supreme Court is, I think, is questionable. Right? No one really knows. We've moved to, for many years. The John Roberts was kind of the center of the court for decision purposes, and seemed more concerned with stability in American law. And we now have the center of the court is Justice Kavanaugh and Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who are much more unknown. They've been on the court for a much shorter time. They appear to be more conservative, but I don't think I don't think anyone knows for certain how they would rule on this. And I think I'm convinced. The only thing I feel confident about saying is that if they have the opportunity to join Justice Roberts and the liberal justices in terms of taking and passing on hearing this case, they will jump at the opportunity to deny cert, as it's called, and decline to review the case, because I think it does push the issue further out and raise really troubling implications, as we're discussing today.
This might feel like a tangent, but I was talking to a lawyer about this. In a case of divorce, and if a couple has an embryo frozen, how is that decided? And does the law in the case of divorce see the embryo as property? And if yes, does that then challenge this ruling?
That's a great question. I do think that it is that in current law in most states, embryos are shared, are property and shared custody of the couple. And it's a really good question what rights the parties have in the embryo. Frankly, it's not an issue that I've looked at before.
That's okay. I came here with a bevy of questions. You've answered a lot of them. And I think my final question to you is, we've talked about the implications on fertility care, on miscarriages, on contraception, on federal law. Is there an aspect of this case that the public and the media is not talking about that you would like to raise to our attention?
I think people should be. The one thing I'd say about this decision is, it's possible to view it really narrowly and say, oh, this was just a freak occurrence that happened when these embryos were, accidentally destroyed in the center, and this doesn't really have broad implications. But I think what's important to remember is, our whole system of medical training, of how we deliver care and offer care is already full of risk, right? Of malpractice risk. We have these, doctors who invest years and years of their life beyond what any other profession, certainly what lawyers like me invest to be able to do what they do. And when you create these extraordinary risks by taking novel and extreme positions on what is involved in handling an embryo, you've just taken something that was already challenging and expensive and difficult, even under the best circumstances, and you've now sort of pushed it over the edge. So if people think that this case is just an isolated, strange ruling that has no implications, I would challenge them to take a look at the sort of way that it reverberates out, and to think about the way that it's very likely there won't be medical training for all kinds of medical schools in Alabama, and what the long-term implications are of just making it that much harder. So that would be my suggestion.